De outro informe, Stichting Family First ya pa 2 anos tem visão para uma rua próspero com família sano. Já sabe agora tem seminário que titula Sanando Relasion Destructivo, título bastante fuerte. Está comprobado que qualquer relação personal tem seu efeito dentro do aspecto. Se algo não está bom na casa, tem seu efeito na pia de trabalho, por exemplo. Para Aruba por conta que relação beneficiosa para nossa comunidade, Leslie Vernick, autor de 7 books, está na Aruba para compartilhar seu conhecimento com nossa comunidade sobre tema específico aqui. Com 30 anos de experiência como profissional em ramo de trabalho social, Leslie Assadi trata diferentes casos de relação.
I've come to know after working in 30 years of working with individuals and families in all kinds of relationships that there's nothing really more important in all of life than to get this well, to know how to love well, to know how to connect with people well. And so many people aren't getting it. They're falling in love, they're breaking up, they're getting married, they're getting divorced. They don't know how to do love well. They don't know how to do connection well. They don't know how to do conflict well. They don't know how to do connection well. And so I'm coming in and I'm going to help people understand what a healthy relationship looks like, what are the 3 essential ingredients that every single healthy relationship contains, and what are some of the red flags to notice when a relationship isn't working. What do they need to pay attention to? Some of the subtle signs, some of the major signs that the relationship is unhealthy or is even getting destructive or abusive. I want to share with people what are some of the signs of a destructive relationship, and I not only know what it is like professionally, but I also know what it feels like to be in one. And I'll be sharing my personal story.
Den su buki nang itatrata na educar persona ng kung en realidad relasyon ang mesterta.
Many of us know, like we know we shouldn't blow up and say the wrong thing, but how do we control our temper? We know we should, give of ourselves, but how do we do it when we don't feel like it? And all these kind of things that are so important to do if you're going to have long-term relationships, I really try to teach people. And so I'm going to talk about 3 skills and 3 lies that people believe and 3 skills they need to learn in order to have successful relationships. But I really wanted to help people to understand when you get that sick feeling in your stomach that something's wrong, but you don't know exactly what it is, I wanted people to understand what it was. And so in the first chapter of each of these books, I have a test that people can take to see if they're in a destructive relationship or in a destructive marriage. And for people who are, they need to understand that it isn't just physical abuse that we're talking about. We're talking about verbal abuse. We're talking about controlling behavior where you don't feel like you have a voice or you don't feel like you have a choice in a relationship. We're talking about people who are overly dependent, who look to you to fulfill all of their needs and make all of their decisions, and that becomes very destructive. We're looking at people who live with someone who's chronically deceitful and chronically indifferent, and they're committed to saying they'll be with them, but yet they don't care. They don't give them any time, resources, or money to help take care of them. That becomes very destructive to your soul and spirit. And so I wanted to really address those people.
So último buki titula Lord, I Just Want to Be Happy. Según Leslie, ta un orasyon kunos tur ayega di hasi ipidipe.
You know, Lord, I just want to be happy is a prayer whispered by every single person because every single person wants to be happy. And so I brought that book in particular because I think that the reason that we get into relationships is we want to be happy. And the reason that we exit out of a relationship is we think we're so unhappy that we want to find happiness somewhere else. And so in that book, I really tried to help people understand the wrong thinking that drives them, and I'll talk a lot about that tomorrow, the wrong thinking that if only I could get this, then I'll be happy. If only I could have more time, more money, a different spouse, a better house, if only I could lose 10 pounds, then I'll be happy. That's not where happiness comes from. Happiness really comes from having a good relationship with others. And happiness comes from having a good relationship with yourself and a good relationship having a spiritual connection. And so understanding those 3 dimensions to happiness and relationships is a huge part of that.
E factor de cultura tambe ti sung influencia riba relasyon.
A lot of us live in cultures. I remember speaking in the Philippines once and a man said, well, I don't know why I have to treat my wife like a person. We buy her. I buy her like a cow. And so I can treat her however I want. And so sometimes cultures have certain ideas about things. And they're firmly ingrained in the culture, but it doesn't mean they're healthy or good. And trust is one of the most important things in a relationship. And so when you can't trust your spouse, whether it's to be faithful sexually or to be faithful financially or to be faithful about where you are or what you're doing or who you are, then you really can't have a successful relationship. And so it's not just about infidelity, it's really about building trust and why that's so important to have healthy relationships.
Interesante, ¿no? Para más información de este seminario de Sanando, Relasion Destructivo, por tomar contacto na 584-2555 o 592-9019. También por mandar un email na info@familyfirst.org.
Correcto.